Right, we've been sort of talking for nearly an hour, but there is one thing. So this is something I'm starting to do when I have these chats with people. I'm trying to sort of build up a little sort of archive of responses to this one question. If you were
Okay.
stuck on a desert island somewhere, supposing you had electricity, what are the 5 records that you would take with you that you couldn't live without?
Oh man. So I was thinking about this a few days ago. I think I may have even texted you letting you know that I was thinking about it. I keep going back and forth, but for 5 albums, I was thinking about it, and I would not necessarily pick the albums that have been the most influential to me. Rather, I would pick the albums that I, as a listener, most enjoy listening to.
That's the
Because
point.
that's, if you're stuck on a desert island, you're not thinking about how to progress your progressive rock band and use influences, right? Like you're thinking about what do I want to listen to as Rylee.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So first and foremost, it would be the album "Spilt Milk" by Jellyfish. I don't know if you're familiar with that.
But it's strange you to say that because I did an interview last week with Mikko von Herzen. Do you know the von Herzen brothers?
I do not.
So an amazing Finnish prog band, and he was so kind and sort of gave me some time for a chat. And he picked the same album, Jellyfish Spilt Milk,
Really?
yeah, as one of his
Wow.
albums. And I thought, oh my god, this is twice. I've really got to check this out.
So you haven't heard it before?
No, no,
Oh man. Oh yes, you have to listen. Like if I maybe I'm building it up too much for you, but I would give anything to be able to listen to that album again for the first time. Like that's how much I love it. It is a magical experience for me as a listener. It bridges for me the gap between artistic and rock and pop and prog. Like it's kind of squarely spaced between all those worlds. Like you can tell that they've listened to lots of the Beatles and lots of Queen and lots of stuff like that, but you can also tell that they're huge fans of music that is incredibly dense and complex and has layer upon layer upon layer. It's just such an enjoyable listening experience. So yeah, Jellyfish, Spilt Milk, beautiful, fantastic album. Um, I would also pick Asia by Steely Dan. One of my all-time favorite albums that I just never get sick of listening to. It doesn't matter how many times I hear it. Every time I put on headphones or put it on, like I have it on vinyl, put it on vinyl, I can't help but just sit and just space out and just pay attention to it. It's
and Smile.
so good.
It is just
What was that?
and Smile. It is just so
Oh, it's right.
beautifully recorded, isn't it? It's the most
It
perfect
is.
I've ever
It
heard.
really is, and and you compare it to anything else from the time, and it sounds better than almost any other record that came out within that entire decade. It's like I would say it sounds better than Dark Side of the Moon. It sounds better than anything the Beatles ever did, certainly. It sounds better than any Rush album from the time, certainly any Led Zeppelin album, anything that came out in the 70s. Like I am hard pressed to think of anything that sounds as good as that album. And it's just so musical, man. It's so beautiful. So yeah, Spilt Milk, Asia. The next one would be a Rush album, which I had to think long and hard about this because Rush is the band that got me started on music in the first place when I was 12 years old. I had no interest in music until I discovered Rush, and then from that day forth, uh, music is all I think about for the next, it's been almost 20 years since that day now, and that Rush is still,
This,
I still consider Rush to be my gateway to not just progressive music, but to music. So I had to include a Rush album, and I would say Power Windows would be the one that I would include.
okay.
Um, which is not necessarily the most influential album to me because it doesn't sound a whole lot like the music that I write. But it's to me, as a diehard Mega Rush fan who owns every album and who loves every album, Power Windows is the one that I still find myself going back to and finding new things to love about. Finding new little keyboard parts that I didn't catch before, new little guitar licks, new things that like the way that Geddy Lee's bass and Neil Peart's drums sync together on so many places on that album. Like there's just always something new to appreciate in it. So Power Windows by Rush.
Very
Um,
good choice.
and then the last two are more modern records because the three that I've mentioned so far are like 1990 and earlier. Um, But the last two would be The Deer Hunter, which all of their Acts albums are amazing, but Act 5 in particular is the one that really resonates with me. I'm just absolutely in love with that album. It's everything that I love about theatrical music, about concept albums that tell a story and have deep emotion.
Yeah.
It's everything that I love about that world of music wrapped up neatly into one beautiful little package. I just love that album.
Don't spill the beans on that one, because that's one of the ones I've got coming up. I've been doing a series listening to the Deer Hunter, and I've
Oh,
done,
no way.
yeah. So I've done Acts 1 and 2 so far. I've got Act 3 sitting on the shelf back here to do. I've yet to get 4 and 5, but I'll be getting to those in the next few months. But
I'm so excited for you, and I'm so excited to watch those videos. I'm as soon as we get off the phone, I'm gonna go watch the videos for Act 1 and 2. They're
okay.
posted, right? They're up now,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, they've been up.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna watch those, and I'm very excited to see reaction specifically to Act 5. 4 and 5 are my favorites, with a slight leaning towards 5 overall. But they're just all of those albums are
And
great.
I think generally speaking, that's the message I'm getting in the comments as well. Is they're all amazing, but they just get better. You think this is good, you wait till you get to 5, and it's really, how can it just get better and better and better? I think this, they're saying the songwriting gets better, the musicianship gets better, every single thing about it just gets better and better and better.
Pretty much every aspect of it, except with one exception, I would say, is the drumming. I noticed that his earlier on the drumming, his drummer is more, which I'm not trying to spill beans here, but the drumming on their first couple of Axe records, you can tell was a lot more heavy hitting, just powerful rock drumming.
Yeah.
And it gets more and more theatrical as the albums go on. So pay attention to that. Think about that while you're listening. Listen to the drums and tell me what you think. So anyway, the last album out of my Desert Island 5 would be Steven Wilson, Hand Cannot Erase, which to me is like the holy grail of albums. Like that album, I can't describe how much I love that album. It's I don't listen to it very often because I'm afraid of wearing it out and getting tired of it.
Yeah.
But still, every time I ever listen to that album, I just I get chills. It's just so beautiful. The guitar playing from Guthrie Govan on that record is possibly my favorite guitar playing of any record ever. Like that, the guitar solo on Happy Returns specifically is like it almost makes me tear up listening to it. It's so beautiful. That album came out while we were recording Stagehound, our second album in 2015. And I have a lot of strong memories of we were in California, in San Francisco, recording Stagehound. And every morning before we would go into the studio, I would walk out of our hotel and walk. Our hotel was along the waterfront, and I would just walk along the waterfront for about an hour with headphones in, listening to an album. And Hand Cannot Erase came out during those recording sessions. So for several of those days, I listened to that album on repeat as I was walking up and down the pier in downtown San Francisco, and that's just a very strong memory for me to this day.
Yeah, it's a fantastic album. It's one of, I did a this about 3 or 4 years, no, 2 or 3 years ago perhaps. I did a series over one summer where I talked about my five favorite albums that I've discovered as a result of having the YouTube channel at that time.
Oh, cool.
And Hand Cannot Erase was one of them. So absolutely fantastic record.